I live on 7668 Oak Street, Laurel, Maryland, 20707. There's an old folks' home just down my road. It caters to the old crazy kind of people. In reality, it's just an old folks' home, but there's been some cases of people down there going a bit mad. My mom told me to go down there and spend a day speaking to the old people to gain some wisdom from the wiser generation, as my mom says. Or in my words, just more boring and less active people, completely dependent on others. However, seeing as I wanted my allowance that month, I just went there to please her. I packed some lunch and I set off on my bike, crashing straight into the repairman's truck. We were having some work done to the wood on the underside of our house, just replacing some panels, because it seemed like them damn raccoons have been down there really clawing away at it again. Happens every few weeks. I don't know why we don't call an exterminator to take care of them for good. Anyway, I race up to the old folks' home and park my bike around the side. I'm a little sweaty. It's hot this time of year. I walk into the building and grab the nearest person I can find and ask them if there's anyone here that wants some company today. The man tells me that it's a nice thing for me to do, and to please follow him into the room where the residents are and ask whoever I wanted to if they would like some company for the day. So I walk into the room. It's not the nicest in there. It smells funny and looks boring. Most of these old people actually have people to talk to, either family or the caretakers. I see one lonely woman. I feel some strange connection with her. That sounds weird, I know. So I walk up to her and ask her if she would like to talk. I get no reply. Someone who works there comes up to me and tells me she's not spoken more than a few words since she's arrived. I sit with her regardless, because even if she doesn't talk, I might not be gaining wisdom, but hey, it might make her day a little bit better. We sit there for about 20 minutes in silence until I turn to her and say, "Nice day, isn't it?" She turns to me and actually looks at me for the first time and mutters the words, "Do you want to hear about my life?" I'm a little shocked, seeing as she apparently never speaks, but I reply instantly, "Yeah, why not?" I think to myself it's better than sitting in silence. Even if this woman is about to tell me her life story of how she worked in a factory her whole life and had lots of grandkids and so on. The woman begins to tell her life story to me. I used to live alone in a house not far from here. I owned a nice house. It was big enough for more than just me. But I never seemed to meet anyone. It never happened for me. I was always working. I led a highly sociable life, don't get me wrong. I was well liked. I had been told I was a bubbly person, outgoing, and a good friend. I just never met the one person who I would live the rest of my life with, to see out our days together. I lived in my house for a very long time. Nothing had ever happened in my house until one night I heard a noise. It was a very deep noise, but faint at the same time. I assumed it was nothing, but a few times it used to wake me up. One night the noise had become incredibly strident. It woke me once more, but not like the other times. I felt like I wasn't alone this time, like there was something in my bedroom with me. I could feel it in my presence. The noise had gone, but I turned my head to see this shape of something. I don't know what it was. I rushed to turn the light on to find nothing. I thought I must have just been having hallucinations because of my anxiety tablets I was prescribed not too long ago. A couple of weeks passed. The noises had stopped until that night. I awoke once again to this sharp demonic scratching. This time it terrified me. The noise hurt me. I felt pain from that sound. I was sitting up in my bed all alone in my dark house, just listening to this noise. The noise was getting louder. The scratching felt like it was in the room with me. I couldn't take the noise any longer. I rushed to my cold, dark bathroom to splash some water on my face I was dripping with sweat. I'd hoped I was having a night terror, another side effect of these pills I'm taking. I got into the bathroom with my legs shaking from fear. I turned the tap on. The running water hitting the ceramic sink masked the abominable scratching noise for a few seconds. I cupped some water with my shaking pale hands and splashed it on my face to cool me down. The noise had gone. My heart stopped racing. The panic attack that I knew had been creeping up on me started to fade, until I turned the lights on. There it was, the satanic infernal creature that had been making the noise. Other than this thing's face, the smell was the worst. It was completely abhorrent to me. It smelt like rotting flesh. I've never smelt rotting flesh, but it was the smell of infection and disease. The smell went right up into my nose, plaguing my insides. I could even taste it. The room turned even colder, and even though the light was on, everything around me felt black, and I knew I couldn't escape it. The creature had a haunting, distorted face. Its eyes were stitched, but I could tell it could see me. It was covered in blood. Not fresh blood, clotted blood. That may have explained the smell. If I could describe it more to you, I would. But the creature was indescribable. Words haven't been invented to describe this terrifying evil. You couldn't imagine any word that could possibly begin to get close to what this creature was. I knew it wanted to hurt me. I knew it wanted to make me feel pain. The creature's breath was on the back of my neck. It was like ice, uncomfortably chilling my sweating back. The thing brought up what I could only assume to be a hand with black long daggers for fingernails. It slowly lacerated the side of my neck, cutting into me softly with ease, drawing blood. I could feel my blood dripping down my neck, warming the cold area the demon's breath had been on. It was painless. I wanted to die. I closed my eyes as I began to have a panic attack. I didn't think it would be possible to have a panic attack, considering the amount of pills I'm on, and how I was standing completely still for what seems like hours, when it had only in reality been minutes, maybe seconds. I closed my eyes and count to 10, like my therapist had told me previously. I opened my eyes. There was nothing there, until I heard the faintest noise. It was blood hitting the cold wooden floor of my bathroom. It was all real, but I was alone. I felt empty. I didn't feel scared. I just felt nothing. The scratching noise has never left my mind. It carried on until I had to leave my house to be put in this home. I was deemed crazy, but it happened. The woman claimed the story to be true. I know she believed it. She was convinced. But you hear about these people who have been abducted by aliens all the time down south. There's plenty of people who believe it happened. Doesn't mean it's true. To humor the woman, I asked where this experience happened, considering she said she lived close by. She replied, 7668 Oak Street, Laurel. I got up from the chair and left immediately, not before getting stopped on the way out by a worker, asking if I was okay. Assuming something was wrong, considering I was profusely sweating and shaking, I asked how the lady I was talking to got the black scar on her neck that I noticed as I was leaving. The worker replied, "What scar? Are you sure you're okay? You've been sitting with that lady for over 40 minutes in complete silence." I am writing this story only minutes after it occurred, while it's still very fresh in my mind. I work security for a hotel in the Pittsburgh area. A few months back, we had a guest saying that she wanted to be moved to a different room. She explained that she had been staying in the room for a couple of days, and that when she had gotten out of the shower on this day, written backwards on the mirror in the steamed-up bathroom were the words, "Help me, I am trapped behind the wall. Obviously, the woman was shaken, and the hotel staff granted her wish to be moved to a new room. Of course, we all had a good laugh about it, assuming that the previous guest had just fogged up the mirror and written the words, so that they would show up the next time the bathroom got all steamed up. Thinking back on it now, I guess it was a little odd that she hadn't seen it on any of the previous days. I had completely forgotten about it until tonight. About 30 minutes ago now, I was doing my rounds, walking the floors from top to bottom. I work the night shift, and so it's often very quiet, especially on weekdays. I had just finished reading a scary story on my phone when I got to the end of the hall on the 10th floor. When I looked up from my phone, directly on my right was the door to room 1024 standing wide open. Now at this point, the woman's story from several months ago hadn't occurred to me. It was still a little disconcerting, however. I'll occasionally find doors that are opened a little bit, usually held open with the night latch, but never have I come across a door to an empty room standing wide open, all the way to the wall. The room was empty and ergo dark. The room started with a hallway, which was lit up a little bit thanks to the light spilling in from the 10th floor. But after a few feet, the light ended and the room turned to the left into darkness. I was a little on edge, but I made my way into the room. Immediately on my right was a switch that I flipped, and thankfully a light came on from around the corner. If it hadn't, I don't know that I'd have gone around that corner. As it was, I did go around. I flipped another switch, though the light in the room was still fairly dim. I took a look around the room for anything out of the ordinary, and made sure nobody was in the room before turning my attention to the huge window that looked out on the city. I walked up to the window and looked out at the river, standing there for a minute just watching the water move. I then looked up towards the skyline and noticed that there, in the reflection off of the window, was a man standing in the entry hall to the room. He was silhouetted by the light flooding in from the 10th floor, and his back was turned toward me. He was facing the wall. As I saw the reflection, I somehow knew immediately that this man wasn't really there. I looked back down to the river, closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and quickly turned on my heels to face the apparition. Only now the man was not only facing me, but he was standing only about 3 feet away. He was shaking violently, like he was extremely cold. His clothes and gray rubbery skin were dripping wet, and his face bore an expression of agony. His jaw hung crooked. His eyes were off-white, a hint of yellow, and shriveled like old grapes. I held his gaze for a brief moment before the fear rose up in me so fast it made my head spin, and I stumbled, nearly fainting, into the nightstand by the bed. As I hit the stand, I quickly turned and regained my footing, in fear of being attacked. While I spun, I tried to quickly refocus my eyes. There was a low groaning sound that echoed throughout the room, and as I finally regained my composure, I realized that the man was no longer there. It took me a moment to urge myself to flee the room, but after about 5 seconds, I did just that. As I beat feet around the entry hall, I could distinctly hear a rapid banging coming from inside the wall in the bathroom. It was then, fleeing for my life, that I remembered the woman's story. I'm still here now, still in the hotel at work, and I don't know what to do. I'm terrified, and I still have to walk by the room 2 more times. I don't know what I should do about that message that was written on the mirror, and the banging on the wall. If I tell someone, there's no way they'd believe me. And even if they did, would they really go to the lengths of knocking down the wall to find the corpse that I now know is hidden there in room 1024? This all began when my friend Sarah got a job working at a large hospital. Because I work there as well, We were excited at the prospect of seeing each other for lunch, even though we were in two different departments. I don't want to bore you with the details, but the hospital is designed oddly. It has 5 floors, but no central stairwell. And while there are plenty of elevators, only one takes you from the basement level up to the 5th floor. It's easy to get lost or confused because nothing is clearly labeled, but Sarah swears this isn't the case. Sarah didn't get lost, and there is a 6th floor, and she told me to look in her diary for the truth. I have omitted the earlier part of her diary, which were random ramblings about Lucy, her family, etc., and had nothing to do with the 6th floor.
October 5th.
Work is okay so far. I'm in charge of the 5th floor, so any tickets that come in for that floor are mine. We had a code red today. Working at a hospital is interesting.
October 6th.
I took a ticket to replace a monitor on the 5th floor. On that floor there are double doors leading into the behavioral health area. Because some of the patients are a flight risk, once I badge open the door, I have to wait to make sure it shuts behind me before badging open the second door. The doors will not open if someone else is standing on the other side, as 2 people cannot enter from opposite sides at the same time. The people that work in the main office there are nice and directed me to the broken monitor. I swapped it and naturally I got lost trying to find my way back, but I'm still new, so I came to a strange elevator. All of the elevators in the hospital are either gold or silver, but this one was blue. Weird, right? I'll see if I can explore tomorrow. I really want to learn my way around, so I'm not constantly bothering everyone for directions. I think Kat is annoyed with me.
October 7th.
My co-workers are awesome except for Kat. Slow day, no tickets. Lucy was right about writing things down. It helps. I try to write everything down, but nothing interesting is happening to me.
October 9th.
This place is huge. I found the blue elevator again by mistake. It only goes up 1 floor, to the 6th floor. Since I was going to the lower level, I got out and wandered around until I found my way downstairs. I asked Robbie about it back in the workroom, but he told me there isn't a 6th floor, nor any elevator that goes up to it. Are you sure you don't belong up there with the crazies? That's what he told me. Really?
October 13th.
Today, someone had trouble with a scanner not working. The nurse had actually forgotten to turn on the computer, so of course the scanner wasn't working. It seems half of my job is going to be fixing mistakes like these. After that, I ventured over to the blue elevator, but a nurse chased me down and asked if I was lost before I could check it out. I asked her if there was another floor above this one, and she got really snappy with me, saying we were on the top floor. Whatever.
October 25th.
Sorry I haven't written in a while. Who am I apologizing to? I got the flu and just wasn't up to it. So the next 2 weeks I get to work nights. Some network guys are doing some work. Nothing desktop support can do to help, but we have to be there for the doctors in case they get upset. I might do a bit of exploring, since I haven't really gotten a chance to do so yet.
October 29th.
I don't like sitting in the basement workroom all alone. The halls are dark too, and there's nobody down here except me.
October 30th.
I really want to go up to the 6th floor, but I don't want to get in trouble. But it's boring watching Netflix on my phone all night, and honestly, there's no work to do. Also, I'm kind of scared sitting down here in the workroom all alone. At least upstairs, the nurses are around.
October 31st.
Something really strange happened. My heart won't stop beating. I don't think it's real. No one was working in the main office that late on the 5th floor, so I found the blue elevator. Most of the elevators feel like a roller coaster, but this one didn't. I nearly panicked, thinking it had stopped, but the door opened to an empty ward. I texted Kristen, half-jokingly telling her that if I don't text her back in an hour, assume I'm being murdered on the 6th floor of the hospital. She told me there was no 6th floor and to go to bed. I tried to take a picture to prove it to her, but it was too dark to see anything. So, armed with my cell phone flashlight, I wandered around. Even with the flash on, nothing is showing up in the pictures. The design of this floor is similar to the rest of the floors in the hospital. A giant square that's divided into two sides, north and south, with 4 wings, A, B, C, and D. Like its counterparts, these were not labeled, but by now I knew the general layout of each floor and could get around. There were empty patient rooms filled with dust, but no beds and no computers. I flipped a few lights on. Nothing. As I moved deeper down the floor, I came to an extremely long hallway. This hospital is filled with these, and it's odd to walk down one even in broad daylight. But at the end of this hall, I saw a faint light. I should have just made my way back to the elevator and called it a night, but curiosity got a hold of me, as I had tried to turn on several lights, and none of them worked. Instead of leaving, I turned off my flashlight and stuck to the walls as I made my way toward the light. Halfway there, a chill ran up my spine. You know how you get that distinct impression that someone is watching you? Yeah, well, I turned around, intent on returning to the workroom, but a figure standing in the center of the hall stopped me dead in my tracks. I have bad eyesight, so I stood there for a long time trying to determine if my eyes were playing tricks on me in the darkness, or if something was really standing there. Something with long hair dressed in a hospital gown. Then it moved. At first I was 200% sure I was seeing things. It's all in my head, just like Lucy says, but I realized it was definitely coming my way. I've always told myself that I could definitely survive any horror movie because I'm not stupid. But the most I could do in this situation was back up, inch by inch, while my heart was pounding out of my chest. I backed all the way to the source of the light I'd been trying to reach earlier. There was one door behind me where the light shone from, and another door half open to my right, empty. The figure was still standing there, staggering forward slowly, and as much as I didn't want to take my eyes off of it, I glanced at the door behind me, hoping to hide where the light was. Inside sat an operating table. No one on it, but the room didn't look abandoned like the rest of the ward. The computer was on, the same equipment we service. I turned back around, and now the figure was running toward me. It screamed, so loud, and it sounded like a child's scream. I jumped into the empty room and shut the door behind me, putting my weight against it. I heard more screaming coming from outside. I must have waited hours before I came out, fully expecting the long-haired ghost to be standing behind the door, but there was nothing, just the light coming from the operating room. I called Kristen, but she didn't answer, so I went back out. The hall was now empty, but when I glanced into the room with the operating table, I saw people. Doctors and nurses were all standing around the long-haired ghost. At least I think that's who it was. There was blood all over them, blood all over the walls, blood everywhere. One of the doctors turned and looked me square in the eye. I got out of there, sprinting down the long hall. It was pretty much a straight shot to the blue elevator, but as I stepped inside, I heard someone yelling, a doctor, yelling and waving. Thank the heavens the elevator door shut before he got in. Back on the 5th floor, I scrambled to the double doors, swiped my badge, got a red light, swiped again. Someone is standing on the other side, not moving, just standing. What the hell? I ran through where the patients sleep and took the stairs. I went straight to security. I know I sounded crazy, rambling on about the 6th floor, the patient with long hair, and the operating room. He probably thought I was an escaped patient. I want to cry right now. The security guy just looked at me and said, "There is no 6th floor." I offered to take him up there, even though I really didn't want to, and he said all right. We made our way back to the 5th floor, and I walked him to the blue elevator. "This elevator doesn't work," he told me. I insisted on taking him inside. I swiped my badge. We went in. There's a button, but it doesn't say 6th floor. The security guard clicked it. Nothing. We both went back downstairs. I returned to my office, wondering if I had imagined the entire thing. I think I might be dreaming.
November 2nd.
Security told my boss what had happened, and he spoke to me about it. Apparently, I can't go on to the 5th floor at night, or maybe I got in trouble for not being in the workroom. It sounds to me like they're trying to hide something by firing me. My parents took me back to see Dr. Allison after I told them what had happened, telling her I was talking to myself again, making up crazy stories. Kristen finally responded, but she doesn't believe me. She has to read my diary. I wrote everything down just like Lucy said I should.
November 3rd.
Nobody believes me. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. There is a 6th floor. That's the last entry in her diary. Sarah hung herself in her bedroom. I had known Sarah only a few months, and we'd only hung out maybe twice, so I had no idea she considered me a close friend. She had mentioned once to me that she didn't want to take her medication anymore because it made her sick, but I never felt comfortable asking her what she took or what it was for. I figured it wasn't anything serious. She seemed so normal. But after reading Sarah's diary, I went up to the 5th floor after work one day, and Sarah was right. There is an elevator that goes up only one floor at the hospital. It opened up to the roof. When I was 13, I was living with my mom and her boyfriend in his trailer. It wasn't bad. The only part I hated was there was no store nearby, and the bed. The bed was an old hospital-type bed. The guy's mother had been through hospice in it. It was uncomfortable and always felt kind of creepy. The house itself wasn't bad, though. I was comfortable being on my own. Anyway, my room was at the back of the trailer. A long open floor plan led to the front of the home where the kitchen and living room sat, separated by a small partition. From my bed, I could see all the way into the kitchen and part of the living room. I had settled into bed one night, but I was restless and unable to sleep for a long time. After much tossing and turning, I had started to get comfortable and thought sleep might finally happen. But my back was to the open door, which I have always hated, so I rolled over one more time to face the door. Then I saw it. I saw a figure standing at the far end of the kitchen. She had to be about 6 foot. She was lean and completely nude. Her skin was a creamy beige, with very light lavender spots here and there. It reminded me of the freshly dead, waxy, smooth, purple and blue undertones blossoming about the body. I thought it was strange that I could see so much detail, considering the only light was coming from the street light outside. The truly odd part, however, was her head. She had a cat's head, but it was almost like paper mache. The eyes were closed slits, reminding me very much of a stylized maneki neko, but there was no smile on her face, no mouth that I could see. In fact, aside from the eyes, there wasn't much detail anywhere on her body. I closed my eyes for a count of 10, convinced that I had just been letting my imagination run wild. When I opened them, she wasn't gone. She was closer. She was now standing at the edge of the kitchen. My heart leapt into my throat as I stared at her. She didn't really move much. Sometimes I thought I would catch her head tilt to the side, or she would sway slightly. I closed my eyes again. I tried to think. It couldn't be my mother or her boyfriend. They were in their bedroom and didn't want to be bothered. I was smart enough to know what that meant, so I was sure they were busy, and this wasn't either of them. All the doors and windows were locked. We were the only ones in the house. This had to be my imagination. This couldn't be a real person. I slowly opened my eyes. She was gone. I relaxed. See? Just my imagination. Mother always said I was creative. I noticed movement in the bathroom. Slowly, she leaned forward out of the open bathroom doorway, looking down the hall at me. I let out a small whimper. I tried to scream for my mother, but nothing would come out. I kept trying to call for her, but I was frozen with fear. All I could do was scoot back further in the bed, shake, and whine under my breath. I slowly realized she only moved when my eyes were closed, but I couldn't stand looking at her. It made my heart pound out of my chest, and I wanted to puke. It made me ill to look at her, like vertigo. I closed my eyes one more time, convinced if I just keep them closed until morning, I wouldn't have to deal with her. I was determined to go to sleep. Things would be better tomorrow. But I heard a loud shuffle and the sound of a body hitting the wood paneling. In my panic, I made the tragic mistake of opening my eyes. She was now standing right outside my bedroom door. I flung myself face first into my pillow, eyes squeezed tight. I finally found my voice and screamed bloody murder. My mother came flying out of her room and into mine. Suddenly, all the lights were on. She held me and told me it was a dream. I was hysterical and managed to talk my mom into letting me stay in her room. I slept on the floor next to her side of the bed. They kept the bathroom light on for me, and I insisted they locked the bedroom door. After a few sleepless nights in my mom's room, then on the sofa with all the lights on, they moved my bed away from the door, and it never happened again. It was surprising how quickly I got over the situation at the time, but looking back on it now, it still scares the shit out of me. What was it? Hey guys and ladies, thanks for watching. If you want me to tell your story, email me at the address in the description. It's the Devil's Interval with 3's instead of E's and no apostrophe at gmail.com. Ripley, do you have anything to add to the what would you call this? The thanking the people part. All right. That's a no. Be good to animals, even people. See ya.
Ja, snämmar, Bergsbus, Rish.
I'm gonna sneeze. Or not.
Hello, 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 I've got red in my yellow.